Good morning students, it's me Sudarshan sir. Today we are going to deal with GK. Okay. Today we are going to deal chapter 21, carbon footprint. Okay, CO2, carbon dioxide. That is what the concept we are going to see today. Okay. When it comes to climate change, footprint explains the total impact of a phenomenon on the environment. A carbon footprint is total amount of carbon dioxide produced from human activity. See, carbon dioxide is not good for good for environment. It is bad for environment actually. Oxygen is good for environment. Carbon dioxide is bad for environment. But most of human activities involve reproduce carbon dioxide only. Okay, we are going to see about that, and we are going to see how it affects the environment. For example, when a person drives a car, the engine burns fuel that produces CO2. While you drive a car, the engine burns a fuel. That burning process generates carbon dioxide, CO2. Okay, the quantity of CO2 emission depends on fuel consumption and distance. Like how much a car produces CO2, it depends on the fuel consumption and distance it travels. Okay, CO2 is also emitted from the generation of electrical power. Okay, electricity if we use, CO2 is produced. Food items, the food items and the goods of everyday use also involve CO2 emission. Okay, food items, if we produce food items, from there also CO2 is emitted. Okay, in the food manufacturing process, CO2 is emitted. That is the concept. Carbon, however, has become shorthand for different kind of greenhouse gases. Carbon, however, has become shorthand for different kinds of greenhouse gases, and the carbon footprint thus also includes gases such as methane, nitrous oxide, chlorofluorocarbons. Okay, this carbon dioxide produces few other gases like methane gas, nitrous oxide, chlorofluorocarbons. All these are very bad for nature. Okay. Calculation. The carbon footprints of a person, product, industry or a country is expressed as measure of weight as in tons of CO2 equivalent per year. Okay, how the carbon is calculated? It is calculated by the weight. It is calculated by the weight in tons. How the carbon footprint is calculated? Depending on the tons of products they have manufactured. Depending on the weight of tons of product they have manufactured. By the tons of products manufactured, by calculating that how much CO2 has been produced in this year, it will also be calculated by the weight of the products that is manufactured. Okay, emission can be direct as well as indirect. The CO2 emission can be either direct as well as indirect. Direct emission of plastic object would be caused from its manufacturing and transportation, and direct emission of plastic object would be caused from its manufacturing and transportation. Direct emission means if you produce some plastic object, so while transferring or manufacturing and transporting, if the emission occurs, that is direct emission. Direct emission would be caused from manufacturing side and transporting side. While manufacturing and while transporting, direct emission happens, and indirect emission could be extraction and processing of the oil that is required to produce plastic. Indirectly, how carbon dioxide is produced from plastic? While you do the extraction process for processing the oil from plastic, okay, at that time CO2 is produced. That is indirect emission. Okay, carbon footprints largely highlight greenhouse gas emission resulting to consumption. Okay, carbon footprints largely highlight greenhouse gas emission. So if carbon footprint is high, if carbon dioxide is too much, then greenhouse gas gets affected, resulting to consumption. This emission caused from goods imported to country but produced elsewhere who would also add to its carbon footprint. This might lead to a situation where countries' carbon footprint can soar even when the carbon emission within the country are on decrease. It has been observed that generally per capita carbon dioxide is calculated by with what unit? Per capita unit. Per capita carbon footprint. Each and everything has some units to calculate, right? But like that, for carbon dioxide, they are using some unit. What is that? Per capita carbon carbon footprint. Okay, is more in countries with greater infrastructural development. If the country is very good in infrastructure in the sense, if the country is very good in their buildings, and if they use lot of glass to construct a house or a building, so if the infrastructure is very good, their carbon dioxide emission will also be good. Yeah, that is the thing actually. With larger infrastructure development has been such place, household energy consumption and transportation can be the most significant. So what happens if the country is very good in infrastructure? What happens? The energy consumption is higher. So each and every process carried out will be higher. Transportation facility will be more. Food production will be more. Everything will be large. So what happens? Automatically the carbon footprints will be higher. Means the carbon dioxide, the amount of carbon dioxide produced will be higher. Okay. There are difficult method of calculating carbon footprints of individual and organization. It is really hard to calculate how an individual produce carbon dioxide and how a organization or a company produce, how much organization or a company produce the carbon dioxide. It is really hard to calculate it. Okay, the greenhouse gas protocol is one of the many methodologies for calculating organizational carbon footprint. Okay, for finding the carbon footprint means the amount of carbon dioxide released. What protocol they have used? What protocol means? Set of rules. What rules they are following? They are following greenhouse gas rule. Okay, greenhouse gas protocol to calculate how much an individual possesses the carbon dioxide to the environment and how much an organization possesses the carbon dioxide to the environment. Okay, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and some such institutional body have come up with online carbon calculators for individuals. Yeah, few tried to calculate how individual bodies in each and every individual in this world produce carbon dioxide and how much amount they produce. For calculating that, there were few companies tried. What are those? The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Okay, that is one of the company, and few other companies also tried to do that. Okay, these enable people to compare their approximate carbon footprint with the national average and that of the world, and they have succeeded in that. They have found there are few results how a normal human, how much a normal human being produce carbon dioxide. They found that and they released it. So what is with that? What happens? It has been very helpful for to find how much carbon footprint a man is produced, or a woman is produced, or an organization is produced in this world. It is easy to calculate. By that, what we can do? We can try to minimize the amount of carbon dioxide produced. Okay. Ways to reduce the impact. How to reduce the carbon footprint, impact of carbon dioxide. Okay, the obvious aim is to reduce carbon footprint to save our environment. Yeah, that is obvious. We will be trying to save it. To reduce the carbon dioxide, and we will be trying to save the environment. In this matter, corporations and also individuals have big role to play. Corporation, industries and also individuals have big role to play. Organization can buy carbon offsets. Investments in carbon reducing activity. Carbon offsets in the sense industries can invest in carbon reducing activity. Okay, there are few activities they can invest in that and they can reduce the production of carbon. Okay. It is also advised to buy gas and electricity from establishments which sell renewable power. Okay, this enhances the growth of these business and thereby develop their ability to produce cost competitive fuels. Okay, what happens? Okay, there are few places where they produce electricity from renewable resources. Renewable resources like sun, wind, air. Okay, renewable resources like sun, air and wind. Buy the gas or electricity from the stations where they produce from renewable resources, where they produce electricity from renewable resources like sun, wind, all those things. If you get electricity from there, so the carbon emission will be very less in those places. So the environment will be good and the business will also be good. If you buy from the renewable power resources, it will be cheaper compared to non-renewable power resource stations. And also what happens, the business also improves and thereby the CO2 emission also reduced. Certain changes in lifestyle have become increasingly important to reduce carbon footprint. Certain lifestyle changes should also be implemented to reduce the carbon footprint. Using public transport such as trains and buses instead of driving reduces the individual carbon impact. See, if you regularly, unwantedly, if you go, if you want to go somewhere, you sometimes if it is walkable distance, you can walk. If you want to travel for a larger area, better you can go with the train. Else, you can use public transport instead using your car. If it is more important, only if you want to go through car, there is no other situation, then go. Else, try to use public transport. So what happens? Amount of CO2 produced is reduced. If you drive car, automatically CO2 is produced, right? When the fuel burns, CO2 is produced. We saw before, right? Like that, better try to avoid that and use public transport. That is what they are coming to say. Okay. So it depends on individual also. If you use public transport, CO2 is reduced and environment will be safe. Regular flyers can consider trains instead of flights, as air travel is larger component of their carbon footprint. See, regularly, if you try to avoid flight also instead try to reduce the amount of flight travels also. Try to go in train. That is what they are coming to say, because if you fly in flight, what happens in the sense, flight is the thing which produce large quantity of carbon footprints, it seems. Okay, so if we avoid flight and if we go in train, that is good for our nature. Using energy efficient appliances and lighting at home is most valuable way of controlling the impact. Okay, using energy efficient. If you in your home you are using appliances, if it is energy efficient in the sense if it consumes very less energy, less electricity. If your washing machine consumes less electricity, if your TV consumes less energy, less electricity, if your mixie consumes less electricity, that is good for nature. So amount of CO2 from all these activities, CO2 is produced. Small amount of CO2 is produced. So the amount of CO2 is reduced. That is good for nature. If in each and for one house it is okay. For how many crores of houses are there in this whole world? If they reduce their, if they use energy efficient products, so what happens? Amount of CO2 produced is reduced. Okay. And thus becomes absolutely necessary lifestyle change. Okay. Certain life choices also significantly reduce the carbon effect, such as decrease in consumption of meat, purchasing only those products that involve less carbon emission. Okay. See, consumption of meat also produce CO2. From meat also there is CO2 is produced. If you try to reduce the amount of consumption of meat, good for environment. If you purchase few products if you purchase the products which involves less carbon emission, that is good for nature. Okay, these are the ways to reduce the impact. They are asking us at least try to do that. Okay. We'll try to do that. Okay. Answer the following question. Which greenhouse gas has maximum global potential? Which greenhouse gas has maximum global potential? Okay. Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide has maximum global warming potential. It is very bad for environment. Till now we read about that only now. Okay. Which greenhouse gas didn't exist in the atmosphere in pre-industrial times? before industries were found in this world, which gas was not in this environment itself? Chlorofluorocarbon. Chlorofluorocarbon was not at all there in the environment before the industrial development. After the industrial development, chlorofluorocarbon is abundant in the nature, abundant in the environment. Chlorofluorocarbon is produced more in the environment, which is bad for environment only. Which activity contributes the most to carbon emission globally? The electricity and heat generated by burning of fuels contribute the most to carbon emission globally. See, by burning of fuels only, in many places electricity is produced. Okay, and also heat is produced. If electricity produced, if a fuel is burnt, automatically heat is produced, right? So this is how the carbon dioxide emission is more produced in this. This is one of the way how the carbon dioxide is more produced in this world. If we reduce this, if you avoid this and go for renewable resources, like if you produce electricity using sun, wind, you can produce electricity, sun, wind and water. Then what happens? The carbon dioxide emission is reduced, that which is good for us and nature, human nature, okay, which is good for ourselves and also for nature. Okay, that is what the whole chapter is dealing about. Carbon dioxide, minimizing the carbon dioxide, minimizing carbon footprint. Okay. That's all, students. For today, one class is enough. Next class we'll go for the next video. And this class, what you going to do is mark the important points which you feel necessary, take a photocopy of it and send in the group. That's all. Take care, students. Have a nice day. Bye.